I want to welcome you to the 14th Annual Gala Dinner in support of the Jewish Children's Museum. I'm Kate Baldwin of CNN. It's wonderful. I hope I have a chance to meet all of you at some point. Oh, thank you so much. All of your checks are in the mail. Thank you very much. I have the distinct pleasure of guiding you through this evening, and if you know me and you get to know me, the fact that I'm in charge, we are all in trouble, and it should always be interesting. Many of you are already familiar with this wonderful place where we are gathered tonight. Since 2004, the Jewish Children's Museum has been a space of fun, of exploration, education, and comfort for so many of our children. And through the latest technology and a hands-on approach to learning, these little visitors of ours, and of course their parents, get to experience Jewish history, values, and traditions in a way that inspires. The museum now serves as a model, both nationally and internationally, of how to engage children and adults, quite frankly, on Jewish culture and history. And on a personal note, as someone who found Judaism by choice, I converted about 10 years ago now. Again, two checks in the mail. I obviously, converting as an adult, finding Judaism as an adult, I did not grow up in a Jewish household or with what you would consider a traditional Jewish education, especially coming from rural Indiana. So having a place like the Jewish Children's Museum, for me personally with my two wonderful little girls, my children, is an absolute blessing. So I'm very thankful for this place myself. Not only that, the museum is also a place for children of all faiths, all backgrounds, to learn about and gain very important perspective on Jewish history, Jewish culture, Jewish faith. And that, of course, my friends, is why we're here. This is what this whole thing is about, why we're gathered here, what the ultimate goal is to achieve, and one of the overarching missions of the Jewish Children's Museum, which is more tolerance and more understanding. And so if we can do that one child at a time, one family at a time through this museum, thank God for that. Here in our community and around the world, this is the most important thing we should be doing. And that is something that we are here together tonight to celebrate. And why don't we get started rather than me talking? But I'm going to talk a lot, so I'm sorry. First and foremost, if you could all please rise for the NYPD Color Guard for its presentation of colors and the national anthem. The national anthem is being sung this evening by police officer Jason Martinoff. Sorry, I'm struggling.
1, 2, squad, halt. Present arms.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight. O'er the ramparts we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Most important person of the evening, apologies, the Deputy Commissioner, apologies to the Mayor. This is the reason why we're all here. I want to bring to the stage, let me find him if he is walking up, right over here, Maximus Das Antonacci. He's a student at PS 18 in Queens, and Maximus is here to share his personal story with the JCM.
Good evening, Mayor de Blasio and distinguished guests. My name is Maximus Das Antonacci, and I have been honored with the opportunity to tell you about my class's visit to the Jewish Children's Museum in the 2018-2019 school year. I learned a lot and enjoyed this visit very much. We were given a tour around the museum by a very nice and well-informed lady. Our tour guide taught us about the 6 days of creation, explaining how God created the world in 6 days. When I stepped through the different segments of the days of creation, I was amazed by all of the visual effects. It made me feel like I was right there at the very beginning of the creation of the world. The tour guide explained the kosher diet to us, and I was surprised at how strict the Jewish diet is. Then we shopped in a supermarket, pushing our carts around and grabbing different products, which was very fun and exciting. Our tour guide spoke extensively about the Sabbath, which is their day of rest. The video about the Jewish people's work week showed how the people didn't rest. They were working all the time until the Sabbath. I was exhausted just watching how hectic their work week is. When we went into the room that was set up like an oversized Sabbath dinner table, I crawled through a giant challah. I got to braid my own bread using huge ropes to represent the dough. When our tour guide showed us the Torah, I was again amazed at how strict the Jewish religion is, with all of its rules, do's and don'ts, written down for the people to follow. I also have great respect for the idea that this religion is still following these rules, which were set down for them so many centuries before. At the end of our visit, we played a very exciting game show, which was kind of like concentration. We broke up into 2 teams and had students at podiums with buzzers just like on television. It was so much fun. I love this trip to the Jewish Children's Museum. I wish we could have spent more time there. I love learning about the Jewish religion and culture. It was interactive with many things to touch and explore. I would love to go back there to see and learn more. I hold a personal interest in the history of the Jewish people because my family and I are Bible-reading Christians, and I recognize that the Old Testament comes from the deep, rich history of the Jewish faith. I truly believe that if all school-aged children were given the opportunity to have this rich cultural experience as I was, perhaps there would be less prejudice towards the Jewish people, towards the Jewish faith all over the world. I would like, in my lifetime, to see people respecting and living in peace with one another. Thank you for this opportunity to speak with you today. God bless the Jewish people of the world, and may God bless the United States of America.
I mean, we can all go home right now. I mean, I'm gonna totally spill the beans. He came up early and he was like, "This is breakfast." I was like, "You gonna be here?" And he's like, "Yeah, I'm totally fine." I think they just turned you talking. Just kidding. We'd like to welcome the councilman, the tallest man in the room.
Representative for our New York City Controller.
We're having so much fun, these microphones have taken on a life of their own. Let me readjust. Thank you.
Hey, what's up, man?
Deborah was up here, and she will now return one more time to present the New York City Leadership Award to Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Well, thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for coming. Of course. This is a very special moment for me, you know that, right? It took me, how many emails? Come on.
You're a prolific emailer.
First we texted, then we emailed, anyway. Okay, not quite. Okay, so we're here to present a very important award. Now, I can read to you, you can Wikipedia this yourself, or go online to read everything you want about our mayor. So, although I did print some of it out, I'm really going to speak from a personal note about our mayor, and that is why you're getting the New York City Leadership Award here tonight. So, our mayor is the 109th mayor of the city of New York. Now that's a lot of competition, am I right? Because there's many people who came before us, so it's a tough road to follow. However, Mayor, you really look good. Please have a drink. So, over the years, we have met at City Hall events all over the city. We've done press conferences together very recently. But I want to speak about the mayor that I know, not the one that you see on TV, the mayor that I know personally. You may not know this, but I remember when you were very young and you were a council member. I actually remember that. And I always tell you that I gave you your first contribution when you were running for public advocate. You still don't believe me, but it's true. But we had a bomb scare, and you saw that in the video presentation when we showed it on the video before, and I'm sorry that you missed it. This happened close to 2 years ago. We were very, very frightened, I want to tell you. I barely had time to get dressed in the morning. I almost had 1 foot on. I almost forgot my stockings. We're running out. All of us, everybody who worked here. It was probably one of the most frightening days in this museum's history. Do you see this man sitting right here? He is the 109th mayor of the city of New York. He showed up in no time. When I say no time, I really, really mean it. Minutes. Hanina, am I right? Where are you? Am I right? He showed up in minutes. He listened to my concerns about the safety of this museum, and it's documented because we have many pictures showing it. He didn't just come and go and just show himself. He paid attention. He saw the children and he saw what this museum was about. And he understood the significance of the safety issue. When I told him that we were in desperate need for new cameras and for security, he didn't think twice or blink an eye. Without hesitation, he said, I will give you the cameras you need, no worries. And he did. This week, we are finishing our last touches to the paperwork, and we will have a sophisticated, upgraded security system in place. And Mark Molinari will be very happy to hear that. As our inspector of hate crimes. Mayor, you have demonstrated through this initiative that you continue to realize that our children are our most important commodity that we have in this city, as you have shown through your pre-K initiative. I salute you, and I thank you on behalf of our board. The support is in this room, and most importantly, the children that we serve. Please join me as I present you with a toast to life. So I'm going to make a l'chaim to you, and you got to take your cup. And I want to bring, where's our award? That's the key. This is a depiction of what it says on the sky, which is life. And that is why it's l'chaim. And that is why to life. Why we're here, all of us together tonight. Everybody please raise your drinks to the mayor, I'm the 9th mayor of the city of New York. And I will say, l'chaim, to life, and to hope and to joy. Let's read what it says on it. I'd like to read it. Of course we're going to do a picture. Please, Mayor. So the New York City Leadership Award presented to the Honorable Bill de Blasio, 109th Mayor of New York City. I love how that sounds.
You like saying that?
I love it. In recognition of your exemplary leadership and your unwavering commitment to the welfare, safety, and security of the citizens of New York City, and your support of its diverse cultural and educational institutions. Especially, we honor your dedication to our youth and your belief in the mission of the Jewish Children's Museum of promoting respect and understanding through education. Jewish Children's Museum, 14th Challenge.
Thank you, everybody. It is such a joy to be here for this event. Whoa, that's good luck, right? This is a very life-affirming place, this museum. And I want to reflect on the meaning of it and why this gathering is so important. And Devorah, you are a very life-affirming person. You, in the way you embrace life, the way you support and energize so many people to believe that we can do something better together, the way you rally people to remember our common humanity, because that's what this place is about. We really need to recognize what this museum stands for and how powerful it is that it exists to begin with. And we need to recognize the extraordinary, powerful life force that Devorah brings to all she does and how it enriches our city in so many ways. Let's thank her. Let's thank her. This museum, I put this in perspective more than one way. This museum stands as a living tribute to a good young man we lost, who we should never have lost. It stands as a symbol of a mother's undying love. This museum happens to be in a neighborhood that once was synonymous with a breakdown in our society, was once synonymous with division and conflict, and is now a neighborhood legendary for the dialogue and the understanding and the unity that its residents have created one for another.
As a young mother living here in Brooklyn, I feel special gratitude to the museum for the new Toyberry program. It's amazing. The blessing of living in vibrant, vivacious Brooklyn is one that comes with some sacrifice, mostly as it relates to the cost of living and the micro-living spaces. Those two factors combined with a lively gang of children, thank God, spells a real bona fide toy crisis. Your rent payments and your square footage are conspiring against an accumulation of children's toys in the average home. And along comes the JCM's Toyberry and makes a real quality of life difference in your children's days and in your life. And if the modern and spotless inventory of toys wasn't enough, the frosting on the cake is the incredible staff manning the Toyberry. They're awesome. They are so friendly and welcoming, and they're always there to help you figure out which toy best suits your child. Our children are so excited, and they learn so many life skills from the amazing educational toys that Toyberry has to offer. I suggest you all get part of it. So on behalf of my husband, myself, and our children, we'd like to say a very big thank you to the Toyberry. Thank you.
When I saw Rabbi Potasnik today, just a few minutes ago, he says, "Are you going to tell a story?" And I am. So, Grandpa was celebrating his 100th birthday, and everybody complimented him on how athletic and well-preserved he appeared. Gentlemen, I will tell you my secrets. Over the last 75 years, I've never went a day without taking a walk. The celebrants were impressed and asked how he managed to keep up such a rigorous fitness regimen. I said, my marriage, that's the secret. On our wedding day, we made together a solemn pledge. Whenever we would have a fight, the one who was proved wrong would go outside and take a walk. My friends, everyone has their theory on the secret to success. And they're all probably right to a certain degree. But looking back at 14 years of the JCM, we have gained the wisdom of knowing that the secret is not on how to succeed, but how to keep growing after you've tasted success. Our challenge for the good of the children who benefit from our programs is to be able to reach ever higher and ever increasing heights. Incredibly, the Jewish Children's Museum has been visited by more than 3 million people. What used to be a dream is now very real. Those 3 million individuals come from every community, every faith, and every perspective. The success has been outstanding, but an encore performance is even finer. Yes, this does deserve a celebration, but more than that, success deserves more success. 14 is the numerical value of the Hebrew word yad, hand. A hand reaches out, and in the next 14 years, we challenge ourselves and everyone in our corner to double and triple our reach and the number of children that we can touch. The festival of Passover and the celebration of our freedom is just around the corner. But there would be no Passover if not for Pharaoh's righteous daughter Batya, who saved the tiny baby Moses in his small river basket. He was out of reach, but still she stretched out her hand for him, and by the grace of God, she was able to save the child who would eventually save millions of children. 14 years ago, who would have thought it possible? But we reached out, secure in our mission and our vision, and touched millions of lives. And now, there are millions more to reach. More public schools, more youth groups, more children, more cooperation, and much, much more understanding. May our accomplishments whet our appetite for unimaginable future success. I would like to take this opportunity to thank my partners, Dora Halberstam, Gershon Eichhorn, Sholem Baumgarten, Mendel Glick, Zalman Glick, and of course, Mendy Spalter, who works day and night to get the dinner happening. And a very special thank you to Esther Myers and Chana Ben-Amu for giving their heart and soul to put this dinner together. Thank you to those of you of our board of directors that are here tonight, and especially Mr. Joseph Popak, Joe Aronow, Joseph Dweck, Serge Haida, Leva Lieberman, and Rabbi Moshe Kafarski. And a special thank you to a good friend of mine. He probably does not think that I would announce his name, but Menachem Reich from Loins by the Case for the beautiful bar and all the help he helps us during the year. Thank you very much. Thank you all who came here tonight to show your support for our children and the Jewish Children's Museum. May God bless each and every one of you, and may God bless America. And now, please focus your attention on the screen for the video celebrating 14 years. Thank you very much.
It is easier to notice our differences than to search for what we have in common. The world is divided in countless ways. Unfortunately, people often don't hesitate to hurt each other in order to achieve an agenda. The Jewish Children's Museum provides an eye-opening look into Jewish history and culture, fostering respect and understanding. Since opening in 2005, the JCM has welcomed guests of every ethnicity, race, and religion, recognizing that the way to peace is to put aside differences and unite. The JCM is a living memorial to Ari Halberstam, a 10th grader who was killed by a terrorist on the Brooklyn Bridge in 1994.
I rise today in memory of Ari Halberstam, a young neighbor of mine whose life was taken 25 years ago this week when anti-Semitic hatred morphed into terrorism. Devorah Halberstam, Ari's mother and my dear friend, is a crusader for justice and a forceful advocate in New York State, determined to bring about something symbolic of resilience, tolerance, and beauty, in 2004, Ms. Haberstam established Brooklyn's iconic Jewish Children's Museum in my district in memory of Ari. An award-winning children's museum is Ari's legacy. It is our legacy. Let us celebrate Ari's life and legacy by coming together in respect, tolerance, and above all else, love. I yield back the balance of my time.
Following breaking news now, here on News 12, police are on the scene in the Crown Heights section of Brooklyn, responding to a bomb threat at the Jewish Children's Museum. This is on Eastern Parkway at Kingston Avenue.
Someone challenged our mission of tolerance with a message of prejudice. We say to this, challenge accepted.
And tonight we sit here as we anticipate the holiday of Passover, the story of the Jewish people's enslavement and redemption from Egypt. And the core principle of this holiday is V'higadata levincha, and you shall teach the story to your children, the story of the Exodus. My story happened 25 years ago. Last month, my 16-year-old firstborn child, Ari, was murdered. My friends, I know the taste of death. And no matter how busy I am, I can't still the crying in my heart. My child was murdered on the Brooklyn Bridge because he was identifiable as a Jew. In his video confession, Rashid Baz was asked, "Did you see who was in the van?" And he said yes, Hasids, and they were on top of each other. When he saw who was in the van, he said he saw Israeli soldiers, and that hatred morphed into terrorism as we know it, by attacking 15 innocent children in a hail of fire and bullets. We are once again facing anti-Semitic acts against our people with ever greater frequency. Painting swastikas randomly on subways or synagogues is not benign. Punching somebody in their stomach because they are Jewish is not benign. Slashing somebody's face is not benign. And there is a very short leap from that to the murder of Ari Halberstam or the massacre of innocent souls in a synagogue in Pittsburgh. What happened in the last 25 years that has brought the growing hatred that is invading our lives? We are living in the greatest country of the world where every freedom exists. We are living in one of the main metropolises in the world, New York City, and we are seeing a near epidemic of hate crimes. Part of the solution is with us right here in this room. We have the most powerful law enforcement body in the world right here. They are embedded in our communities, making sure we are as safe as can be, especially at our most vulnerable times, while we celebrate, while we are in our synagogues, even while we walk down the street. But truth be told, we wish we didn't need all these resources. We, like all the rest of humanity, just want to live our lives in peace and tranquility. Ignorance breeds hate, which is why the path to prevention is through the work we do here each and every day in the Jewish Children's Museum that was built in my son's memory. This is not a memorial. This is a living legacy. And while many of the children who walk these floors are Jewish, many are not. They learn for the very first time about the Jewish people and its history. and they will remember their experience as they become the next generation of leaders. And hopefully, in learning about our culture, there will be understanding. And when there is understanding, there is acceptance. My bet is on the children, and I will win that bet. And that is why the lesson of Passover is to teach the children, because they are our hope. And while Passover is a holiday where all Jews the world over gather around the Seder table and recount our history, our seat at our table will again remain empty. Yet Passover is the festival of freedom, and my wish to all is that we celebrate this holiday with hope and the belief that we will be free from the hate that has permeated this city and our world. I will leave you with the words of Elie Wiesel. Without memory, there is no culture. Without memory, there will be no civilization, no society, no future. Thank you all for joining us tonight to celebrate another year of growth. Happy Passover, be safe. God bless you all, and God bless America.
I met Maurice a few years ago, and I asked him to bring his family for a visit to the Jewish Children's Museum. He did, and from then on, this was always his favorite museum. He helped us in any way he could, and became a personal dear friend of mine. Maurice passed away last year, and he will be sorely missed. But his daughter, Jennifer Rosenchuk, has taken over for him, and we thank her for all her help. We would like her to accept this dedication on behalf of her father of blessed memory tonight. The JCM Memorial Award, presented to the family of Maurice Rosen of blessed memory, in recognition of the nachas he always had in bringing his children and grandchildren to the Jewish Children's Museum, which inspired him to become a staunch and loyal supporter of the museum and its goals of teaching tolerance and respect through education. 14th Annual Gala, the Jewish Children's Museum.
My father would be so honored that you thought to honor him this evening. On behalf of my mother, my family, and our firm, I wish to say thank you for the honor. I was lucky to have 20 years of partnership with my father. The lessons of tolerance taught by the JCM is so incredibly important. As CPAs and estate planners, we worked with the JCM on a project. Having found it, we could not help but thank and support its mission. The Jewish Children's Museum brings a very important message, and we thank the directors for their continued efforts to bring about tolerance. And thank you again for this on behalf of my father, Maurice Rosen.
I'd like to welcome a dear friend for the museum, someone whom I am unfortunately to call my own friend, Joe. His warmth and dedication and leading by example is truly meaningful, and I'm honored that he has made us a part of his own mission to do good. Joseph Dweck, thank you for accepting the honor tonight and for being a constant part of the museum circle. You help the museum succeed in reaching children while they are still young, before they might be influenced by a negative environment. We wish you and your family to be able to continue the good that you do, and that you experience much blessing and nachat in your lives. And a happy Passover. Joe, please come up to receive your your Passover Ready Award, designed by Gary Rosenthal, to honor us with your remarks. Community Builders Award, presented to Joseph Dweck, in recognition of your caring for the children of the JCM and your continued support of its mission. 14th Annual Gala, Jewish Children's Museum, April 10th, 2019, 5 Nissan 5770.
Fellow distinguished honorees, our District Attorney, Eric Gonzalez, good friend, Majority Leader Cumbo, Councilman Deutsch, other members of the City Council, and each and every one of you here. And of course, when the mayor comes, I'll give him a shout out too if he happens to come in while I'm speaking. We are here tonight at the Jewish Children's Museum, an institution that through the dynamic and interactive exhibits, children are brought into the experience and history of the Jewish people with the goal that through early education, we can stamp out anti-Semitism and any form of hatred. Plus, it's a fun place to visit. Tonight, I receive an award, but the true recognition goes to you, the supporters of this museum, not just the financial supporters, but each and every one of you here on every level, especially for coming out tonight. You are true leaders and community builders. In a little over a week, Jews around the world will gather with their families and friends and celebrate the holiday of Passover. At the center, they will recount the many miracles that God did for the Jews, and He performed them through His trusted servant Moses. After 210 years of servitude as slaves in Egypt, God decided that the time had come to redeem the Jewish people. And of course, He sent sent Moses to redeem them. First, there were 10 plagues. And finally, as we all know, after the Jews left Egypt, and because every epic movie needs a great chase scene, Pharaoh chases the Jews and at the water's edge, God commands Moses to split the sea. And the exhibits upstairs can prove that out. The water split, and the Jews made it to safety. Days later, and in the desert, they ran out of drinking water. And we have a tradition that if it's written in the Bible, it's written in the Torah, there's no exaggeration. The multitude cried out to Moses for water. And Moses then turned to God and said, please give them water. And if not, a little longer, and they will stone me. Here was Moses, that through his hand, the greatest of miracles were performed. A man who was the messenger to take the Jews out of Egypt, out of slavery. And now only days after the pinnacle of miracles, the splitting of the Red Sea, they were ready to stone him. And the message here, but before I'll just finish the story, they didn't stone him and God delivered the water, so everything turned out okay. But the lesson here for all of us is that, and for all of us and for the people sitting in the room and on the dais, and because everybody here is a leader, is a community leader, is that every one of us in public service, we go out and we do what we have to do for the people. And we don't expect appreciation, and there'll be no appreciation. You do it, you do your best, and you do it with a good heart, and you do it for the people. So I accept the Community Builders Award on behalf of each and every one of you here tonight, and I thank you for coming out. Thank you.
Rabbis, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. It's been 25 years since Ari Halberstam fell victim to a terrorist attack that targeted him as an Orthodox Jew. It's been 14 years since we've been honoring his memory with the Ari Halberstam Award, given annually to a person who has helped fight the hateful ideology that took Ari's life. That we honor Ari's memory in this way at this event every year is in no small part due to the energy and the persistence and the diligence of his mother, Devorah Halberstam, who established this institution, who put education in the service of ongoing struggle against intolerance and hatred. She herself was honored this past year as the Person of the Year by the New York City Police Department. Many people have received the Ari Halberstam Memorial Award in the 14 years in which it's been given, Jews and non-Jews alike. But I would venture to say that no one who has received the award in that time better exemplifies the message that the award conveys than the person who's going to receive it tonight. There could be no more timely recipient of that award than Professor Alan Dershowitz. It says, in recognition of your lifelong commitment, by the way, that doesn't require that he be deceased soon after tonight. It says, in recognition of your lifelong commitment to the pursuit of justice and for being a courageous champion in defense of the Jewish people and to the integrity of the land of Israel and your belief in the mission of the Jewish Children's Museum, promoting understanding and respect for all people through education, by inspiring them with the exemplary values of Ari Halberstam, a victim of terrorism, whose legacy lives on in this museum. Jewish Children's Museum, 14th Gala Dinner, April 10, 2019.
General Michael Mukasey, a hero of the United States of America, a hero of the Jewish people who, in his own words, just to repeat them, manifests the lie in the concept of dual loyalty. Here's a man who has given so much to America through his service as the Attorney General of the United States, as a federal judge, and as a great lawyer, and has done so much for the Jewish people, and they're all compatible. They both work toward justice. Tzedek, tirdof, says the Torah. And there's no reason why one tzedek cannot stand for tzedek to the United States of America and the other tzedek to the land of Israel. Israel and the United States are the closest of allies. If you do justice for America, you do justice for Israel. The other reason I'm so thrilled to accept this award is I remember as if it were yesterday, the murder on the Brooklyn Bridge. It hit me so hard because I grew up crossing the Brooklyn Bridge. I walked across the Brooklyn Bridge. I drove across the Brooklyn Bridge. And every time I come to Brooklyn and I see your son's name on the bridge, it is so important to me because it sends a message we remember. We will never forget. Much as that assassin tried to destroy the memory and the life of a young man, and he did that, you built that into something so positive. So it is such a thrill for me to accept this honor. It is also coming home. I went to high school 4 blocks away from here. I was a terrible yeshiva student. I fought with the rabbis all the time. I remember so vividly once having lunch here at 770 because my friend Zvi Groner is the nephew of Rabbi Groner, who was the Rebbe's secretary. And I'm sitting having lunch with Zvi and Rabbi Groner, and suddenly this very handsome man with a long black beard walks in. He had just been appointed the Rebbe. This is 1952. And he gives me a bechina, a test. He says, "What are you studying?" I said, "Baba Kama." And he asked me questions. I think I got a Bain or knee minus, which is not quite mediocrity, but I had something to aspire to. And of course, why was I such a terrible student? Because Brooklyn Talmudical Academy on President Street, Franklin, and Bedford Avenue was foolish enough to locate itself 4 blocks from Ebbets Field. So I spent 4 years cutting classes, going and watching Brooklyn Dodger games. The only thing I have that reminds me of that is I actually have on my finger the 1955 Brooklyn Dodger World Series Championship ring owned by Don Zimmer. And I had a highlight going to Brooklyn Talmudical Academy. I played basketball in Madison Square Garden. I was a substitute, but they put me in at the end when Manhattan Talmudical was beating Brooklyn Talmudical. And guess who I guarded? I guarded a short little guy, very well dressed, whose name was Ralphie Lipschitz. He became Ralph Lauren. Not a great ball player, but boy did he dress well. So for me, it really is homecoming. Also, I love museums. Why do I love museums so much? When I got suspended from Brooklyn Talmudical Academy for being a bandit, I spent my time in the Brooklyn Museum. I learned all about Egyptian culture, but it didn't have anything about Jewish culture. I wish this museum had been open. I would have learned about Egyptian culture and Jewish culture and the Jews in Egypt, but museums have been great. And for me, a museum, to be a real museum, has to be an interactive living museum. It's not something you passively go and look at. You can do that in other places, but if you're a young person, you want the museum to talk to you. You want to be able to talk back to the museum. I took a tour of the museum today. It's fantastic, just fantastic. I wish I had young kids. My grandkids are both in medical school, so maybe they wouldn't be so interested, but maybe they'll have kids that I can bring to the museum someday. So thank you so much for bringing me home, for bringing me back to Brooklyn. This is a very important day in Jewish history. It's a day when we saw a very contested election in Israel. And we saw Israel as a democracy. I'll never forget a story where I was, this is a name-dropping story. I was having dinner with Bill and Hillary Clinton on Martha's Vineyard, and Bibi had just gotten elected for the first time, and somebody was being very, very critical of Bibi. And I started to respond, and Bill Clinton said, "No, let me take this, let me take this." He said, "There's only one problem with Israel." He said, "You see, the Saudis, if I wanted to get something, I just pick up the phone and they do it. The Jordanians, I'll cut off funds if they don't do it, they do it. The Egyptians, they do it. If I call Bibi and I tell him to do something, I gotta check with my inner cabinet, with my outer cabinet, I gotta do polls." He said, "The problem with Israel," and these are his exact words, it's a democracy, damn it. And that means you can't tell them what to do. The people govern. I'll never forget when Bibi first got elected. I was in Israel doing a book on the Genesis of Justice, about the book of Genesis, and Bibi called me. I've known Bibi since he's 22 years old, when he was a student at MIT. And so he called me and said, "Alan, bring your wife, bring your daughter over. I just became prime minister. I have a nice office. We'll schmooze and take pictures." We did. We schmoozed. We took pictures. Then he takes me into the little inner sanctum and says, "Alan, I have something I really have to ask you. In quiet. Nobody can overhear. There's no wiretaps, nothing." I thought he was going to ask me about Iran, about the Palestinians. He puts his arm around me. Remember this, 1996. He says, "Alan, did OJ do it?" I said, "Mr. Prime Minister, I have a question I've always wanted to ask you. Does Israel have nuclear weapons?" He said, "Alan, you know I can't tell you that." I said, "You know I can't tell you that." And we both got a good laugh and went on to talk about more serious matters. I also want to tell them the C and their lobby is too powerful, and they talk too much, and they have too much money, and they control the media. No, but we don't hate Jews. We just hate Zionism. Martin Luther King, a long time ago, said when you attack Zionism, you're attacking Jews. It's anti-Semitism, because Zionism is the national liberation movement of the Jewish people. The Jewish liberation movement has to have the same status with the left and the right as other liberation movements, but it doesn't. And Zionism today on college campuses all over the world has become a pariah. BDS, boycott only Israel. Where does BDS begin? It begins with the Nazi boycott of Jewish stores in the 1930s. It continues through the Arab boycott of Jewish businesses, even movies, in the 1960s. What's new? What's new about it? The directors of BDS aren't interested in the occupation of the West Bank. They think Tel Aviv is occupied. They think the occupation occupies all of Palestine from the river to the sea. That's not me talking. This is Barghouti, the head of BDS. When I was invited by Oxford University to debate BDS, they invited Barghouti, and he said, no, I can't debate Dershowitz. He's subject to BDS because he's an American Zionist. And so he won't even debate me. He won't interact with me. He won't go to listen to Jewish artists. Does that sound familiar? Do you know, I have a friend, some of you know him, he's one of the greatest pianists in the world today. His name is Evgeny Kissin, and he's going to be in Carnegie Hall next week. He did something brave and courageous a couple of years ago. Because he heard about the attempt to boycott Israeli artists, he went to Israel and became an Israeli citizen. So now he stands up to audiences, and he says, you're boycotting Israelis, you can't come and listen to me. He's the greatest pianist in the world today, and he's standing strong in Israel. He's not an Israeli. He lives in England. He's from Russia. He spends time in America, but he's standing strong. He's saying, if you boycott Israelis, you're boycotting me. We all have to do that. Everybody has to do that. We started a campaign a few years ago where they were trying to boycott Israeli professors. And we started small. I got 6 or 7 American professors, Nobel Prize winners, headed by a Nobel Prize in Physics winner in Texas. And I said to him, I called him on the phone and said, you have an honorary degree from Bar Ilan, don't you? I said, yeah, I have an honorary degree from Tel Aviv University. So why don't we start a campaign saying we are professors in America, but we hold degrees from Israeli universities. And if you boycott Israeli academics, you're boycotting us as well, and we will not interact with you. We originally thought we'd get 50 or 60 signatures. 11,000 American academics signed our petition and said, if you boycott Israeli academics, you're boycotting us. The end result is the boycotters were boycotted. If you can't deal with 11,000 American professors, many of whom have won important prizes, you're the ones who are being boycotted. And I've always said to my Israeli friends, the best way to fight against BDS is create products so invaluable that no one can do without them. Whenever I speak about BDS, I ask people to take out their cell phones. You're a supporter of BDS, throw away your cell phone. You're a supporter of BDS, stop taking medicine. Die if you have to, but you can't take the medicine that will save your life because it was developed in Israel. If you grow agriculture, stop using the drip method of agriculture. It was invented in Israel. Hopefully in 2 days, we hope, we can pray, the first satellite from an Israeli enterprise will land on the moon. Israel will become the 4th country in the history of the world to land a satellite on the moon. What a remarkable achievement. Has any country in the history of the world ever contributed more to humankind in the short period that Israel has existed, 70 years? No. Israel has contributed so much to medical technology, to so many other aspects of daily life. When I debated BDS at Oxford, I threw out a challenge to a very hostile audience. BDS is very strong at Oxford. I said, I want anybody in the audience to shout out the name of any country in the world faced with threats comparable to those faced by Israel that has a better record of human rights, a higher level of compliance with the rule of law, and more concern for the life of enemy civilians. Not a single person in the whole audience was able to name a single country with a better record. Yet, Israel is condemned more than all the other countries in the world combined at the United Nations. Israel is condemned on university campuses more than all countries in the world combined. You cannot get a demonstration on an American university campus today against the massacres that are going on in Syria. You can't get a demonstration against what's happening to the Kurdish people. But you mention Israel, Palestine, you'll get thousands of people and faculty members going in protesting. To single out the nation state of the Jewish people, all out of proportion to its faults, and no country is perfect. Our country isn't perfect, Israel isn't perfect. That's what democracy is about. You criticize your own country, you criticize other countries. But to condemn Israel, to single it out all out of proportion, means only one thing. Israel is the Jew among nations. And it is being subject to the historic discrimination that Jews as individuals and Jews as groups have experienced over the years. And if you're going to fight anti-Semitism, you have to also fight anti-Zionism. Zero tolerance. Even when my friends inadvertently do it, I call them out. Let me give you an example. I'm a close friend of Bill Clinton's. I've known him for many, many, many years. I took him to shul with me on Rosh Hashanah when he first became president. We are close friends. But when he went to Aretha Franklin's funeral and found himself 3 seats away from Louis Farrakhan and stayed there and didn't walk out, I condemned him in the media for that. I said, you do not sit next to Louis Farrakhan. You walk out. If that had been David Duke, you would never have stayed for a minute. Bigotry knows no color. Bigotry knows no ethnicity. If you're a bigot, you are not supposed to be honored by anybody for any reason. It's hard to walk out of a memorial service. It takes courage to do that. But Bill Clinton didn't express that courage. His daughter did. Interestingly enough, Chelsea, shortly thereafter, wrote a piece condemning Farrakhan, not for mentioning her father, but saying nobody should do anything but expect zero tolerance for against anti-Semitism. So Jews have to use the influence we have well earned in this country. We have to use our influence because we need power to stop anti-Semitism. Israel needs power to stop all the countries in the world that have been sworn to its destruction. There's an interesting line in the Psalms. It says, Hashem oz li'amo yitain. God will give the Jewish people oz, strength. Hashem yivarech et amo b'shalom. Only then will the Jewish people have peace. Historically, for the Jewish people to have peace, they need strength. As Bibi Netanyahu said recently, if the Arabs lay down their arms, there would be peace. If Israel lay down its arms, there would be genocide. We have to understand this is not symmetrical. When people say, oh, why can't Iran have a nuclear bomb? Israel, maybe, has a nuclear bomb. There's an enormous difference. Israel would never use a nuclear weapon, except as an ultimate act of deterrence or self-defense. The leader of Iran said a few years ago, if we get a nuclear weapon, we'll bomb Tel Aviv, we'll kill 3 million Jews. Israel is a one-bomb state. They'll respond, maybe they'll kill 20 million Muslims, but the trade-off is worth it, because it will destroy Israel and Islam will not be negatively affected. People who have that state of mind cannot be allowed to have weapons of destruction that are capable of carrying out the threat. So, my message to you is in the spirit of Ari, in the spirit of his mother, be strong, fight back, state your principles, remain consistent. Don't worry about people accusing you of dual loyalty. We love America. We love America. My mother used to, and my grandmother used to take me to the Statue of Liberty on July 4th and make me sing not only the first stanza of the Star-Spangled Banner. How many of you know there's a second stanza? My grandmother from Poland knew the second stanza because she loved America with such a passion. That didn't reduce her love for her Jewish tradition any more than being a Catholic and loving the Vatican and loving the Pope and loving the Catechism. As John Kennedy taught us now so many years ago, that doesn't make you any less of an American. So be proud of your Jewishness. Be proud of your Americanism. Fight back. Be strong. And may you go from strength to strength.
Thank you so much.
ויביאס המושיע ויביאס המושיע אני מאמין ויביאס המושיע ויביאס המושיע אני מאמין המושיח אני מאמין ואני מאמין אני מאמין ואני מאמין ובאמונה שלנו בביאס המושיח בביאס המושיח אני מאמין. Join together if you know it. בביאס המושיח בביאס המושיח אני מאמין בביאס המושיח בביאס המושיח אני מאמין